I want to squeeze you good and tight. I love these lines. I want to fly into the moon. Beautiful.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another Friday session of LinkedIn Live with Empathy Co. My name is Jordan. I am a product marketing specialist here at Empathy. And today I am joined by our CEO, Angel Maldonado, along with our Director of Open Innovation, Leti Amores, and one of our backend search engineers, Andres Doncel. So today we're going to be talking about data consent and integrity through innovation. So when we think about innovation, we think about things that are cutting edge, things that are new, avant-garde, but sometimes we don't think about where this technology comes from. And it's come to a point where that's become an issue, right? Because there's so many concerns about privacy nowadays that we really have to be making sure that we know where everything is coming from, right? We don't want to be using data that wasn't consented to or didn't come from a foundational model that, was very clear about their sources. So, when we think about something, it goes back to, when we talk about, having a discussion with someone that it's not what they said, it's how they made you feel. Well, this sort of goes to the same point. AI is not what we think of it, it's how it makes us feel. So if we don't feel that we can trust it, that at the end of the day is the determining factor of whether or not someone's going to feel comfortable using it. So, it's not just a set of components in the technology, it's the perception of the technology. So that's what we're going to cover today. So that said, Angel, I'm going to let you take it away for the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I love the light that you have in your beautiful home, the beautiful light. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Letty, for attending as a director of our Open Innovation Venture. Thank you so much, Andres, for joining and being, brave and bold to parachute yourself in this discussion. I have a number of questions, and I think these questions are very important to everybody and everyone who is attending this session here today. I do believe that there is a certain future that is revealing itself right in front of us, and there are certain clues. I see them as pathways that we need to pay attention to. And I think the best point to start from an engineering perspective, from a technical perspective. Andres, I have a question on, if we could abstract and we could group and we could zoom out a little bit and we could look at the different pathways of innovation that are happening, because a lot of people here are listening to a lot of terms, a lot of concepts, but all these seem to be grouping in certain pathways. So my first question is, which are those avenues of innovation when we hear semantics, when we hear vector, when we hear hybrid, when we hear retrieval augmented generation, the conclusions of that and how they lead to certain use cases and actions and evolutions? Give us a little bit of an overview of those pathways for a start.
Okay, so first, hi everyone. Before starting out, what are we going to where are we heading to? We want to start about where do we come from. So we have the first set of search engines, we could say, keyword search, in which the user inputs some text in a search box, and what we do is return results that exactly match the content of that text. Then we will evolve into semantic search, in which we will be capturing some semantics. It's not just exact match, but also some ideas about what does it mean, what the user is trying to find. We have the famous example we've seen in other LinkedIn likes about a party tonight.
Yeah.
And you ask and you get results about party clothes, party dress, or that kind of products. Right. So once we have those two we have a next step, which is combining them. We have hybrid search, in which you take sources from results from many sources, and you combine them into a better results, more refined result. That also leads to learning to rank, which is combining the sources in a way that is automated, in a way that is data driving with machine learning. And now we have the next steps, which will be large language models, in which you have a sequence of tokens. Again, it's just some text, and you generate a response that is human-like. It's not actually human, but it's human-like in that you get a response that the human can understand. But those have some caveats. They're costly. You need a lot of data to train. You need a lot of resources and time to do it. And they're static. They're static. And once you have tuned a model and there is a new product coming next week, the model doesn't know about that. So that's the next iteration, in which you combine all of these sources. You combine semantic search and hybrid search, and you combine large language models, and you build retrieval augmented generation, in which you take those two, you take the sources and you pass into a large language model, and they will return a refined response. Again, I've been talking about improvement, and how do you know you are improving? You have to evaluate. You have an evaluation framework in which you actually ensure that what you are doing is better than what you had. We have some models like Mistral 7 with 7 billion parameters, which again is reinforce the idea that it's not easy and cheap to use them and to fine tune into your use cases. But with those combinations, you can get into the next level.
Thank you so much, Andres. And how about in terms, I understand these pathways. We begin with a conventional retrieval, we progress towards semantics expansions, we progress towards hybrid, we progress towards large language models, and this latest state, for example, of the Apache 2 releases of DeciML or Mistral, key investments here in empathy. But, we're very, very committed, as Jordan reminded us, to the notion of perception. And one thing is this wealth of advancements and innovations in AI, but at the end of the day, bottom line, it all comes down to the way somebody perceives it. And that perception is going to shape the way of relation, the way I perceive that capability of AI. To give you a specific example, the way I perceive my relationship with Siri or Alexa, it comes down to that moment in that household by that individual, the way they perceive all that, not the people who made that technology, right, or is trying to evolve that. Letty, from an experiential perspective, in terms of experience and perception, give us some insight on where things are heading.
Yeah, so regarding experiences as with technology, I think that we are in a frenetic race, and in this race we are constantly looking to the sides and following the movements by inertia, and we are iterating on what already exists, and what we have for now is the technology and proposals like ChatGPT, so we are starting from there. My perception is that over the last few years we have experienced the systematization of design, a lot of rules. Don't do this, this research says that, this is the result of this test. And sometimes I think it's even uncomfortable to refute it, because most designers will point this as a total lack of knowledge. we have set strong standards for designs. So most of the experience we have now are also standard. We don't need to go further in this scenario because we always have the data answer. Data is always at the center. So even when we say that an experience is user-centric, it's data-centric because we are measuring, analyzing, and normalizing. And if people were really at the center, not the users, because we are always talking about user. I mean, people with all their complexity, feelings. I'm sure the experiences will be very different. With this thinking, there will be a complete change of perspective. So what can we do with the AI? Are we going to follow the same rules that we have followed before? So I think that right now we can build most of the experiences we can imagine because technology will allow us to do it. So why not? Let's start by imagining the most respectful, humble, emotional, incredible experience we can imagine because we have total freedom. And I think this is the challenge because we need different and disruptive thinking, totally out of all those guidelines and out of measures and standardization. I think this should be the starting point. It doesn't mean that we must forget technology. We must balance experience, respect, and technology to build good products.
This is very cool. I mean, in a few moments, when I ask you another question, we're going to share with everybody what we mean by this disruptive, counterintuitive angle to designing AI experiences. As I was hearing you, Letty, I was thinking on William Blake, which I'm going to adapt to this moment. The reasonable designer adapts her or himself to the world, to the systematic process of design. And the unreasonable designer adapts the systematic process or the world to her or himself. Therefore, progress, of course, depends on the unreasonable designer, right? That adaptation I've done for the reasonable and unreasonable person. I think we've come to such hyper-rationalization of the process of design. Every site looks the same, every application looks the same, every coffee shop looks the same. Everything is not innovation, but a game of imitation. And that's something that we must break through and break away and take out. This is beautiful. And I'm so pleased to hear you, Letty, in these terms, which brings me to, I need to confess this because it's a reality that, one thing is what you think and the way you speak and then what you actually do. There tends to be a gap between the way we think, say, and do. In empathy, we're hyper committed to privacy, to data provenance, therefore, i.e. the origin of foundational models or any other kind of model. Committed to consent integrity, wake up. If you are creating a domain-specific model, your consent cookie tracking banner system, your privacy policy page, your privacy notice must indicate that you are doing this, and you have to be transparent, visible exercise of privacy to the end customer, etc., etc. People still starting to wake up to that. But here we are, and here I do confess, investing heavily in innovation over generative models with Mistral. And Mistral, as DeciML, it comes in this beautiful wrap-up, the beautiful package, this beautiful idea that is open source Apache 2. But it's not really code that you have open, right? If you open the source, what you see is what you see when you read an MP3 file. There's just nothing in there, right? So let's be real. Let's connect the way we think, say, and do, and let's accept that there is a limitation. And surely, in relative terms, it's way better to invest in open source approaches to AI than in closed source with spurious interests. But still, We must understand that the foundational models that we're using, whatever 16 gigabytes that you deploy a Mistral, they don't tell you where it comes from. You don't know if it comes from Quora, from Yahoo Answers, from underage people who didn't consent, to give you an example. Anyway, I pass this over to you in terms of data provenance and consent provenance. What does this mean? What are we accepting in terms of AI innovation, Andres?
Yeah, well, as you said, Mistral, for example, is open. The only thing that is open are the model weights.
Yeah.
Sorry, in terms of code or the data set itself. So it's like a black box when you are using it. From our perspective, what that means is we shouldn't lock in to a specific model, because if something is wrong with that, you are going to shoot yourself in your foot. So what we do is build an architecture that is not dependent on one model at all. So we will that abstraction that allows us to experiment with and investigate with new models that may comply with or align better with our values. Maybe in the future they decide to open source the code or the data set, and we can do something else, like training the model from ourselves, by ourselves. And also we could open other ways about not just serving the model ourselves, like we are doing, but also give it a way for people to run them in their devices.
Well, that's a very good point. Being able, let me stop here and process this, what you said. Being able to run a model in someone's device within your sphere of computational control, within your sphere of privacy, in airplane mode if you wanted to, right? That's a whole new construct. And I pass this over to you, Letty, in terms of that avenue of decentralization. It's such a different construct. It's a different flow of ideas that one really has to have a conscious effort to grasp, right? You talk to a lot of people, we don't operate in a decentralized reasoning model. It's very difficult. The very act of thinking is centralized, but we need to try and break away and flow into the decentralized thinking. From an experiential perspective, everything that vendor relationship management, Me2B, now Gartner, machine customer, opening a parenthesis, I hate the name. Don't call a customer a machine or associated with machine, and I understand the augmentation, etc. Closing parenthesis. Point is, from a decentralization perspective, the experience and the perception, what kind of work are you guys doing in open innovation, Letty?
So I think there are multiple scenarios and solutions with AI experiences, but I'm almost sure that decentralization will be one of the most interesting. So we have worked on some explorations in the past, but I think it's closer now. Imagine a privacy capsule controlled by the data owner with all the information safe in local storage. Perhaps, as you said before, with a model also running locally and acting as an agent to personalize the experience and also the interface, I think, and connecting with brands, stores. But let me share the screen and I will show you a concept. It's just a concept we are working on. So,
thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So here we have the home of an e-commerce, and the content is not personalized and is based on wisdom of the crowd. But when we connect the account, the magic begins. So let's try it. Oh, sorry, I don't know. It's not. Let me restart, please. Yeah, here we are. Sorry. Let's start. So when we click my account, we have different options to connect the account. And let's imagine that we have the option to connect it with the information we have in the local storage. So if we click continue with, before connecting it, we can decide what information we share without the data leaving the local storage. This is something really important because we are the owners of the data. So we can configure what information are we sharing, and then we can connect the account. And our agent, a model running locally, will personalize the experience. It will even generate new content based on that information, such as we have here, my insights, my coupons. And at this point, we can also control the data we are sharing. So if we are moving back to home, let's go back, all the experiences personalized. So all the content, my favorites related with my purchase history, start my cart with different suggestions about different cards, my recipes, all the content absolutely personalized. I think that we have here the respect and the privacy, personalized experience, and of course we have the technology, and I think we will see many proposals around decentralization in the coming months. So definitely I think we are closer.
That is, I mean, it builds on a lot of great volume of work and great thinking. Again, for somebody who comes out from this space to realize that you can have an experience connected to your device or to your browser, and you can resolve a model within that sphere of privacy, it's a before and after. Now, I see that as an end state, and of course there will be some steps in between. Andres, one of the things that we are looking at in Empathy very carefully and attentively with the great platform engineering team and FinOps efforts, cautiously and attentively, is the wealth of potential computational costs that we can incur precisely in the context of decentralization when we go, as is the state of the art today, in a centralized manner, right? Do you see any variation of stacks or variation of approaches depending on whether you're serving millions of users or you're serving business or associate experiences? Are we gonna, it seems that we lean in that way, but I want to have your view from an ML engineering perspective. What do you think about that?
Fine. So there is actually like two lines of development. One is making bigger models with more data and with higher quality. That takes more cost. That is generates more a higher carbon footprint. But then there is also this line of optimization and reducing the cost and the resources, but also you're training a bit of quality for power, right? So as the architectures and the code itself starts becoming more efficient, you may be able to run those models which you require clusters or expensive GPUs. You may start to run them in your devices. So what we can do is have a different offering for some customers, in which we provide a service and they consume it, but we can also provide self-hosted in their customer devices, end-to-end users. So they run in their local devices, and any data is not moved from there. So we respect that privacy in that sense.
Thank you so much, Andres. Well, a reminder that the oi.empathy.co initiative is not close to empathy. We are getting close to announce some very important partnerships with other parties and other players. This is an open space, hence the intrinsic power of open innovation. And we'll be sharing more of that. But anybody watching this or the recording or now that has ideas that wants to bring forward to collaboratively, we have capacity and we're looking to invest further in this space, not only within our teams, but also in co-creation, co-development with other teams. And with that note, I just want to say thank you thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's attending this. Thank you, Jordan, for hosting us so well and beautifully as always. Thank you, Letty and Andres, and thank you everybody who is attending the session. And I'll pass it over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, well, listen, I think you guys pretty much covered everything there is to cover on this topic, but I'm sure that we will have another conversation on this in the near future. But as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to any of the four of us. You can reach out to Empathy directly. You can reach us through our website, however you choose to do it. We're here to take your questions. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you'd like to hear in our next session. So, put in your opinions for February. We really want to take into account what it is that you're looking to hear in the industry. So that said, let's end the session with a little bit of music, and we'll see you back here next Friday.
Thank you so much. What are you going to surprise us with music? What's the plan? Data Rock was called the band you were playing before, right? Is that right, Data Rock?
It was Data Rock, yes. I will share the song in the chat.
Nice. Well, isn't it beautiful that it's Friday? And as it happens in London, it's sunny. Cold, but sunny. Who cares that it's cold, right? So guys, have a most wonderful, exciting, inspiring weekend, and see you all around. Thank you so much. Thank you.